Welcome to the Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind podcast. In this week's show, we are going to recap Rise 11, main event for that. We're going to recap Fight to Win 225 in Reno, Nevada. Talk a little about the Midwest Finishers main event, Midwest Finishers 13, and recap some of the matches and some of the title fights that happened on GrappleFest 15. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, and the co-host,
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We're going to also talk about some other news that's happened in the community.
Yeah, some all kinds of crazy stuff.
You've seen the title of the show. You know where we're going. So we can lead into a little bit of news. Do we have any lighter note news coming up other than like ADCC opens are running? They're being announced. There's a lot of other
There
fun
was something
stuff.
that I wanted to talk about, and I completely forget what it was now. But some April Fool's jokes gone wrong.
There were April Fool's is a great time for the community. People announced. What was the best? IBGGF announced that they were no longer going to be drug testing. And I read it and immediately went.
I looked at the article and then I saw that Emil Fisher wrote it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like.
He writes April Fool's one every year almost for like
I was
a couple of publications.
I'm not believing anything that guy writes. And then it was like, I talked to somebody. I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sure you talked to somebody.
Yeah. So.
And I sit here with my USADA pen that I got from Pans.
The April Fool's joke is always good. My favorite one was the year that they wrote that Eddie Bravo was buying Metamoris, and at the time I was like, that actually could be true. And then a couple years later, like it came out again that it was like it had been discussed when Metamoris was trying to revive. I was like, how come the April Fool's joke can be real? So there's been some great ones over there. I think that was the best one that I saw this year was that they announced that they were stopping to test.
Yeah,
and
that was hilarious.
After Pans. That's kind of good. So. I think that'll be very funny if we get more testing because they were there at Pans, right?
Yeah, they were there.
Pans this last weekend.
Yeah, I was at Pans. It was fun. It was better run than I expected. Like it seemed to be really on time. Everybody's matches went well. I didn't see any kind of craziness. The reffing was pretty decent.
Zach and I had a good time, recapping all the black belt matches last week.
It was just that
overall it was good.
My only issue with that was it was so long.
Yeah.
It was a very long day because I think I got there at
Sunday.
Yeah, I got there at like 8:30 in the morning to get seats, and then I was there until they were done, and that was almost 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, those
were like 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Those are long days. Again, I wish that they would ramp it up a little faster and end it a little earlier. But again, majors are majors. We have a couple. We have like 8 or 10 majors a year that we do. So it kind of it's like once a month. It does get.
But it was
those
fun.
12-hour days get a little long once a month.
Yeah, but it was fun to watch. It was interesting being in the crowd at an event like that because you don't realize they just come back and sit down.
Yeah,
and so like you're sitting there and all of a sudden
you're thing where the guy competes and then they go back and sit. You're like, oh, he sits like. He's like a person, he's just at the event like me.
Tynan was in front of us, and Tynan only had like 2 gis with him because he had a white gi and a blue gi.
Yeah, because for majors, you have to in the finals.
So between each match, he would like take his gi off and hang it on chairs to like dry it out.
Yep.
And
you don't know what gi you have to put on at the finals.
Yeah. Basically. So he kept on drying out his stuff on like all the chairs, and it was just like. Oh, you're a normal person. That's
you like between matches, you're just you go from being the world beater guy on the mat to being like a guy's got to dry his gi before his next match. So
basically,
that's cool.
Yeah.
I got to make it out to another major. That's like I need to make it out to a gi major because they're in Florida. It'll be easier for me to go than basically the flight over to Cali. Yeah. So that's cool.
Well,
so you've seen the title. This week, really interesting ruling came out of
California.
San Diego. Out of San Diego. You're more the legal person. If you want to take it, you can take kind of the recap of it without getting in too much minutia. Basically, there was a $46 million personal injury suit that came out.
Settlement. Not settlement.
Judgment.
Yes.
Judgment that came out. It was Sinestro and one of Sinestro's students or students that had come in from Yoshida.
Yeah, it was Jack Greener.
Yeah, it's called the Greener case is what it's called.
Yeah, it's Greener versus Michael Phelps, not related to the Maryland Michael Phelps.
The swimmer, the Olympic swimmer. Yeah.
And it's Del Mar Jiu Jitsu Club. And then it was Francisco, I'm probably going to pronounce this last name wrong, Aturli. That was the Sinestro guy.
Sinestro, yeah. Sinestro's very, very famous, been around for a very long time. Competed at a very high level for a long time. So essentially what happened, there was there was a back take that was done by Sinestro that resulted in an injury.
Yeah.
And
it seems like initially maybe the injury was a lot more serious than it became.
It seems like the guy's recovered now.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like from what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of weirdness online. I don't want to go into that. The thing that I'm upset about of all of this is like, first of all, we cover the professional side of the sport all the time, every week for almost damn near 5+ years, more than 5 years at this point. We've been involved in jiu-jitsu for way longer than that.
And we have all fucked up our necks one way or another.
We do a dangerous combat sport.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of the game, and you understand that there are risks involved in what you're doing, and you hope that you don't end up on the wrong side of a horrible accident. And that's, again, goes out to the issues and the injury that happened. Like, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But when there comes a suit, and my huge issue with this was Rener Gracie was brought in as an expert witness, and he was paid like what? $94,000 or like $120,000, something, some very large amount.
I think it was like $30,000 a day.
The number I saw was $3,000 an hour.
Oh, okay.
Was the number that
I think
was kicked around.
Yeah, there's a bunch of numbers.
There's a lot of conflicting stuff, but a very large sum of money to line his pockets to sell jiu-jitsu and the community as a whole down the river with, I wouldn't really term it's a false testimony or a false expert witness statement is about as close to you can get as the statement he gave.
He gave his opinion.
He gave his opinion that it's not a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu certified. That he makes a bunch of statements about the sport that everyone who is in the sport that's not at Rener's gym goes, that's a really weird way to talk about that and view that.
Well, and if you didn't see the videos went around so far. But
yeah, the video's now live.
When you first hear what happened, you think it's a lot worse than it is. And then you go and watch the video, and we've all kind of been there.
It's the back take that Fedor does, where you jump over their head with a body lock, with a waist, and then you spin them, you flip them over. And that's the back take.
I want to say it's like a... Somebody does it all the time, and I can't think what it is.
A lot of guys do it all the time.
Like Checkmat, Leo Vieira.
Leo Vieira.
I think he does it. Like he did it in his matches all.
Like we've seen Gavao do it.
Yeah,
like it is not a super common back take.
Actually, your coach tonight, while rolling, said, "Am I going to do this?" Made a comment about it, and we just kind of giggled about it because
it's not common, but it's not something. It's not like a thing I've seen a lot of videos. It's the thing we see, like. Not infrequently at high-level competition, somebody tries for it. So not a negligent move in any way. And Rener, in his statement, basically goes like, oh, this is not a technique that you would do. It's not certified. It's super dangerous. It's not experienced. There's a bunch of statements that are given in that.
About how it's an advanced move and that it's dangerous and that you shouldn't be doing it on somebody of a lesser belt, like of a lesser quality.
Which
I'm like, a bunch aren't you supposed to practice on white belts? Isn't that like...
And blue belts and purple belts and like you're a black belt. It's so there's a bunch of weirdness there. And there's a bunch of other statements that Rener makes. And my huge concern and my kind of anger in all of this is that it sets a precedent for horrible accidents and injuries that are accidents that happen in a gym now have like legal precedent in California for being negligent cases and judgments.
As somebody in the legal world, normally we don't pay attention to California.
Yeah.
Sorry if you're from California, but we don't pay attention to your legal stuff.
Because the laws are weird.
We don't pay attention to it. But if you are interested in reading it, if you go to the Superior Court of San Diego, you can go through their system, you can find the case number, and you can pull all the case documents. There's also a video. I don't think it's available yet. They did get approved to, like, not court TV, but something like that. Got approved to be in there. I went looking for it, and it wasn't available. So if you want to watch Rener sell jiu-jitsu down the river, then you can do that at a later date. And I'm sure that people will watch it, and it will make its rounds.
Yeah. I've been disappointed in Rener before for like selling jiu-jitsu belts online, and like it's just the next thing that Rener has done here to the community that really goes like, oh yeah, you're in it for you, and this is just the next thing. people are now that own gyms. This is going to affect small gyms. This is going to affect promotions now that fight out of California because your insurance costs are going to go up for your events.
Yeah, I
There's
didn't think
case
about
law,
that.
like,
Your insurance.
this
Well,
affects the
but
entire
I don't
community
think-
in a huge
In
way.
everything I read, it didn't look like they were going after a carrier.
But-
I didn't see the name of a carrier. I saw the
for this particular
individuals.
case,
Yeah.
but now if this has standing in California, you don't think that companies' insurance
Oh,
are gonna
yeah.
go, oh yeah, now you do this sport that just had this $46 million judgment. Like, this affects everyone.
Yeah.
And for him to do that with all the information, he corners number one ranked fighter in the UFC, or number 2 ranked, or whoever you want to put Ortega. Like, he knows the sport. He's been around
Yeah.
for a long time. His family essentially invented what was mixed martial arts and brought the UFC together. Like, he knows what's up. For him to line his pockets like this is despicable.
Yeah, and
deplorable that he would do that to the greater community. So I'm very upset about this. I don't really want to go into more detail. You can look this all up yourself. I hope that this does not affect the professional events that we cover out of California. I hope that, this is
this is kind of another strike to California because a lot of people are running from California to begin with.
Yeah,
and a lot of jiu-jitsu businesses are not doing well in California to begin with, and this is just another reason for them to move out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, California was previously sort of the mecca of jiu-jitsu in the United States. It's slowly kind of losing that with places like Austin and some of the New Jersey stuff and some of the Florida stuff.
And some of the COVID restrictions kind of screwed up over a lot of people.
There's a lot happening, and I cannot professionally on this show air my disappointment to the level that I would like to, and so that's where I'm at. I want to kind of leave it at there before I go further.
I thought you wanted to give us some.
Yeah, I did. That was been the pre-show before I got cold feet on like how hard and how disappointed I was.
Yeah.
But just know that there were words before on the pre-show. It's just I can't even imagine ever giving a testimony like that in court for the sport that I have dedicated my entire life for to line my pockets.
Well,
And
he lined his pockets
I hope it was worth
being
it, man.
online blue belts.
I hope it was worth it.
Sorry if you have an online blue belt from
No,
Rener, but
don't be sorry.
you know.
It's not a belt. You got a fake belt. All right, moving on. What do you want to start
Okay.
with, Miranda, on the happier recap side of the show?
Oh,
Get me in
we
a better
can
mood.
start-
We had a great weekend of events. We had
a lot of stuff.
there was
going
a
on.
lot of events. I
There's
watched a lot of stuff today.
I did.
We also watched Fight Circus yesterday. I think we're gonna talk about that in the outro.
We're gonna talk about that.
Wild.
It was great.
If you have Fight TV,
if you want to talk about injuries and dangerous activities,
Thailand doesn't give a shit. That was great.
I think it would be fun to go to.
I watched that at Zach's birthday party. I put it on the TV and played it, and they were like, "What is this, Maine?" And I went, "This is Fight Circus." Hold on.
I made my 14-year-old daughter watch it.
That's
so,
hilarious.
Just the way it is.
So
Teach her about life.
We had GrappleFest, we had Midwest Finishers, we had Fight to Win, and we have Rise Invitational.
Yes.
Where do you want to start?
Let's do Midwest Finishers. Why not? Midwest Finishers was on Flow.
Yep. Let's talk about the main event here.
Okay.
I will love that we had some really. You want to go through the results, or you want me to do?
No, we can do main
spiel?
event. There was the 155 belt,
Yeah.
and it was Max Hansen who was the 170 belt champion.
Mm-hmm. Making going down to 55.
Yeah, and Anthony Valdez.
Mm-hmm. Looked good. It was a fun match.
It was a fun match. Max gets an armbar in OT.
Yeah.
That's how he wins it. But I mean, he shows that he is the champion at 55 and 70.
I love when organizations will let you kind of go between. Hey man, if you can make the weight, come down or go up to the next thing.
I think he was small for 170.
He was.
Really.
He was small for 170, but I don't think he's normally 55, but I could be incorrect about that. I remember his 55.
They probably let you weigh in the
day.
day. I think they let you weigh in the day before.
I kind of like that for super fights.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, again, you get a better performance out of the athletes. You get a
Oh,
larger
totally.
range of talent. Kind of get there and not be worried about making the weight.
Yeah.
Overall, it's good. I love that. Again, I love that. I love seeing dual champs in organizations and organizations bringing back their current champs into other divisions.
And if we want to go back to dual champs, the 125 women's bracket was also at Midwest Finishers.
Yeah.
And Alex Nguyen won that one, and
Yep.
I believe she's a dual champion because I
She-
want to say she's like
Is she the finishers champ or the Midwest
she's
finishers champ?
she's both.
Yeah, she's both right now.
To I believe.
Yeah,
I believe.
I think
but
that's
I think
correct.
she's also. I think she's 25, and then I think she's also like 35, or she's another one. She's not.
Yeah.
She's a multiple.
I mean, if you're typically wrestling from the smaller women we see pretty frequently, it's like, hey, you will move around weight class if you want.
Yeah,
if you're
'cause you
about
have
it.
to.
Yeah. So
You
it's,
have to.
So it's fun. That was good. Anything? Kind of any other pieces on Midwest finishers?
No, she did that. There was a couple. Because Max Hansen is Pedigo, but he technically is under Dante Leon.
Yeah. Well, Dante's Pedigo too, but
Yeah, but I for whatever reason think of them as two different teams in my head. They shouldn't be two different
Dante
teams.
has his own guys, so
Yeah.
it's like he's
in
under
Toledo,
Keith, but
yeah.
he has his own guys in his
Yeah.
own gym that are like under him, not really under directly
Yeah.
Heath.
Exactly. And they're in Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool. Like I met him at 50/50 when he did a seminar.
I did a really cool interview with Dante
Did you?
a couple of years ago at Kasai.
I always forget he's Canadian too.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
I did a cool interview. He was talking about winning trials and then going to ADCC.
Yeah.
And winning the world. We were talking about winning Nogi Worlds. Was kind of the subject of the interview.
Yeah.
He had a really great match with.
he won
Kunio.
Nogi Worlds this year.
I know, but it was his first world. It was his
Yeah.
first Nogi Worlds back in because it was 2019. I did the interview.
Yeah.
So, cool. There was so Dante, you brought it up to me.
Yeah, he's actually so. What's really once you pick up his voice, you can hear him coaching. He coached a couple people at this event, but there was so Noah Chen is a younger AOJ brown belt.
We've seen him before.
I think
always
he's a brown belt.
In Nogi, I can never tell. It's also AOJ, so it's like y'all are.
He was
brown belts,
wearing.
essentially.
He was also wearing a brown rash guard, which makes me think he is a brown belt.
Yeah, usually if you're AOJ, they're not gonna let you wear the rash guard outside the rank. But it was also like kind of a brown rash guard.
Yeah,
but it was one of those like
I don't know.
almost like maroonish, where it's like it could be just brown, but not like a ranked
but
brown.
he went against TJ Laramie, which I think we've seen a few times
A
on
bunch.
Yeah,
Laramie's always good, and he's always exciting. I think he's been on Midwest Finishers a bunch. We've covered him a bunch
yeah,
on the tournament.
and he's Pedigo, and he was being coached by Dante, and Noah went for a heel hook, and they kind of rolled out of bounds.
Kind of like a matrix leg lock where you're going to end up in the backside of the calf slicer and that outside heel hook there where you can either take the back, kind of like Pato does, or you can go for that heel hook.
Do you know what I did? I did learn one word in Portuguese while I was in
At Pans?
At Pans. Pato.
Pato.
What does it mean?
Fuck me. You're going to put me on the spot for this. It means like...
Duck.
Yeah. Pato. That's Spanish.
Yeah.
It's a conjugate for in Spanish too.
Duck. Anyway,
so in this match, we've completely gone off circuit here. This is happening. They're next to the wall, and you see them get reset, and the refs are resetting them, and then you hear someone not screaming, yelling
he gets
very aggressively.
He gets very aggressive about he was not in the heel hook, you know, and I mean he sounds like he's about to like stomp on.
It's Dante Leon.
Yeah, it is
the corner,
and he is. I mean, very irate over the location of the legs. Where the lock is, where the knee is.
I think rightfully so. Like, and looking, you sent me a little clip of it, so I could watch it.
And
over
of course,
again.
like it puts a freaking ad like right before it happens.
Yeah, I hated the ad. Now you sent me the ad too, and I was like, "Why did you send me?" Okay.
Because I was screen recording. I couldn't get rid of it.
I looked at the heel hook and like the position, and then I looked at where they got reset, and I was like, "Oh, Dante had it right." Like, it wasn't all the way locked in. Like, he might have called for his fighter, and it was a little less locked in than it was before. But to your corner's credit, this is one thing we talk about on the show frequently for competitors and for corners.
Yeah,
know the rules and advocate for your fighter.
Yeah,
this was a great example of Dante Leon going, "No, we're not putting my guy back in the heel hook on the backside.
They were going to put him in a backside, fully locked heel hook.
Essentially.
And
then Dante's like,
that's
absolutely not. This is not Paul Harris at ADCC. We're not going to do it this way. And to his credit, his fighter gets there. It's a static position now. It's not rolling. Yanks his leg out immediately. But again, I love... This is not a warning. This is something to look at if you coach your teammates or friends, or if you coach in general. You know, remember these sort of moments, because you have an obligation and also the ability to advocate for your fighter on the sideline when a lot of times your fighter can advocate for themselves, but that is less of their responsibility. It's your responsibility as the coach to advocate and yell and champion for your fighter. Your fighter's job is to do the thing they're doing on the mat. It's your job to champion for them, and this is a great example of Dante Leon championing for his
unless
fighter.
It's IBJJF, then you're going to get DQ'd.
And then you're going to get DQ'd if you're not Portuguese.
Yeah. Well, now I heard I saw so many like Portuguese coaches yelling at the refs and the refs yelling back, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
It's changing a little bit. It's a lot less than it used to be.
There's more dialogue between. But definitely you have to speak Portuguese to be able to get that dialogue. So
it's gotten. I do appreciate in IBJJF it's gotten better.
Yeah, they don't automatically DQ anymore.
Yeah, and they also don't automatically give it to the guy that speaks Portuguese. It feels a little more fair. We've seen a lot more fair calls in recent years, which I appreciate. But again, props to Dante Leon advocating for his fighter, and it's a good example of on the sidelines you can put your fighter in a reasonable or a spot that they were in and advocate for them because you saw as a coach. And I love to see that. I love to see, good cornering. And this is another reason to love Dante Leon.
TJ won in overtime in that match. If he hadn't been set correctly, there was a possibility that would have been a lot different.
Oh yeah, I mean, had they been set in the initial position, that would have been extremely. It's defendable, but. I mean, he goes from being set up in a really tough to escape position to being set up and it restarts. He just yanks his leg out and there's no control. Yeah. Which in the role, it's a hard position to recreate. And I don't
especially because they were also up against a wall.
Yeah. So it's would have Larmy turned more? Would he even rolled through? There's a big X factor there. I think the reset was done as good as you can do it. And again.
Yeah, without standing them both up.
Yeah, which you kind of let the guy have the position. If he can scramble with the control that he had or about the control he had and finish the sub or get to the sub or get to a control position, give him the opportunity. If in a static reset you can yank your leg out, that's the part of the game. I'm not a huge fan of resets in position, but I do like it more when you can do it than a static start him on the feet. You're like, well, he was down. It's that's so wildly different from where they were. Yeah. You just didn't have enough mat space. And so I think it was done great. Again, Midwest Finishers, very fun tournament. Any other kind of closing thoughts on Midwest Finishers?
It was a great tournament. It was very long. There was a lot of matches that day.
We again give people a chance to give a variety of people a chance to showcase their stuff. And that's again one of the things that Midwest Finishers has done for a long time is provide a showcase for people in the Midwest to be able to show their skills. So,
and really, are they? Where are they?
Yeah, definitely Midwest.
I thought they were in Ohio for whatever reason.
That's Midwest.
Yeah, but I don't think they're in Ohio. But they're in Lombard. But I don't remember where Lombard is.
Lombard Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, I'm going to Google this one.
I know they're Lombard. I don't actually know what state now.
I know.
So, moving on, I want to talk about GrappleFest. Because GrappleFest had some bangers on it. You have better notes than I do for matches. Where do you want to start on GrappleFest? There's 3 or 4 matches on the card I want to cover. We had Big Dan. We had
Illinois, by the way.
Illinois. Okay, Lombard, Illinois.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Okay,
Big Dan was on the card. Keith Krikorian was on the card. Walsh was on the card.
I mean, we could start.
Luke Griffith was on the card.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to start with?
I mean, I kind of want to start with our boy Keith.
Let's start with our boy Keith. Keith Krikorian versus Sam McNally.
So, first of all, Keith came out to DMX.
He did.
Which made me so happy.
Hell yeah. I love it when more people come out to DMX. Eminem is it's a curse.
I think more people, I think more people need to come out.
Rest in peace, Darkman Extreme. I love DMX. You can't play a lot of his music anymore, but
it's not really appropriate.
2004 is a different time for hip hop.
I think England they get away with it a little bit more.
A little bit more, definitely. But so Keith comes out and then he hits coming off the match. He pulls and I was like, okay, Keith plays a good guard. And then Sam makes some distance and Keith does a long range knee wrestle up. Gets to the body lock and then lifts and then kind of jumps his knees like he's doing a knee drop. Yeah, it was. I have never seen anyone do this sort of takedown. It was like a reversal throw from a body lock on the knees. And I meant to, I congratulated Keith on his win. But I need to ask him about hey, Keith, what the fuck was that? It worked. I mean, he gets Sam down and then immediately starts gunning for the back, gets the back,
and
gets the arm in, gets the sub. and that is the entire match.
Yeah, it's a quick rear naked choke.
Really just, again, shows just the work that Keith has been putting in and just the improvements.
Totally.
And he had a really tough match, a really great match. If you haven't seen his match with Ash Williams on the last GrappleFest, again, not one that Keith wins, but man, that was a nail-biter match. It just shows like the level that Keith is on in this match. Again, Sam had a good run at trials in ADCC.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
and he's a talented,
Yeah, we've watched Sam for a lot of years.
So
for Keith to be able to do that and impose on Sam in that way is really, really impressive.
I don't think I've ever seen him really impose that way.
Keith or Sam?
Keith.
Yeah.
Like, I normally see him.
I've seen him in early rounds of tournaments. Absolutely, because we've been covering Keith for 6 years.
True,
like,
in early, but like
early rounds, you're like, ooh.
Yeah, well,
he runs through some guys.
He runs through some people, but generally, like, there's a little bit of back and forth, and then he gets.
Yeah, he'll kind of get going.
Yeah,
he seems to be
like a little slower starting.
Yeah, like more like feel you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think in the last
I think we're seeing the new page of Keith Krikorian, which is
purple
great.
belt and brown belt. We saw him really hunt subs super hard from the gum and just like kind of gunning for that. Then we saw him like playing more of a positional game and like working the subs. Then I talked about him. I interviewed him at trials after he finally won trials, and he talked about I had to change my game even more to like realize we're doing for points and the submission can be there, but I have to play this sort of thoughtful positional game and understand that the guys are really good. I'm not going to be able to sub everyone. And if you want to hear that interview, it's on the Grappling Rewind YouTube page. Really fun interview I did with Keith.
Yeah.
We're seeing him transition back to like kind of that gun down speed that we saw him early kind of professional career, whilst now having all of that like black belt experience at this top level.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's really cool to see his game develop.
Yeah, I totally appreciate
this
it.
This was 170. This is champion? Or was this for a belt?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It was under 170.
I want to see the match with Ash run back, maybe in like a match or two. Yeah. I think that was a really great match. That was for the belt.
It might have been for a belt because they were all 15 minutes. Once Degroot started, they were all 15 minutes, and that would make them championships. So it could have been a championship match.
Yeah, another match we had on the card. It was fun. It was a good match. Go back. Keith does his thing in like a minute and a half, maybe.
Yeah,
something like that. It's really quick.
I just know as soon as I texted that Keith was coming up, I was like, up, and he wins.
And he's down.
And he wins.
He's won. Next match, talk about Luke Griffith versus Santiri Ilias. I can never get Santiri's last name. Trials winner, we've seen him before, has had really good matches.
Just so you know, Keith is now the under 70 champion.
Okay.
So it was under 70 and under 100, which was the Luke Griffith match.
Yeah, and that was a championship match. Luke Griffith does kind of what Luke Griffith has been doing recently. We saw him play from the bottom for pretty much the entire match. It's a pretty short match. Luke Griffith continues to go to 50-50 in the beginning of the match, and Santiri defends 50-50. Luke does a really good job of dropping his hips into 80-20. He gets the knee line down and kind of forces Santiri to kind of go, okay, I got to get out of this and defend. Does a really good job of defending. And then Luke just continues to fight for the legs, eventually hits a really nice inversion into a backside.
Yeah.
It really ends up into just a regular 50-50 heel hook again.
Yeah.
I can't imagine trying to deal with how long Luke Griffith is, because he can frame you away.
And he's strong. He's a big, strong.
He's young, too.
Yeah.
It's very rare we get young, big, strong heavyweights like Luke, but we're in the last couple of years, really since Nicky Rod.
Yeah.
We're seeing that change now where we have a lot more young guys. We're going to talk about Damon Ramos and Sloan Clymer on Fight to Win.
And Big Dan was on this card.
Big Dan was on the card as well.
He's another
Nicky Rod. We have a new crop of heavyweights that are coming in that are not 30. And
they're not the old school heavyweight that you're used to.
Pressure fighter, push down, grind you out for a long time. These guys are actively looking for subs on the top and on the bottom. It's really interesting to watch a guy like Luke because, and especially when he fights the 50-50 in this match, you see him using the top side of his shins on the hip bone, and he can get a distance there either to dip inside to go to like 80-20 on the 50-50, or to push you away and be able to dig your heel out in a way that a lot of guys at the weight class can't do. He's figuring out how to leverage those attributes, and with his willingness and ableness to invert, because he's, pretty flexible for a guy of that size and that length, he can get under you and then push you away and then force you to sit on your butt. And then he's back into the heel hooks, and you're at this weird range where it's really hard to fight the hands. It's really hard to be able to tack up because his legs are so long. I am super curious to see how he continues to develop. It would not surprise me in the slightest to see him win trials again.
Oh, no, not at all.
But he's now the under 100 kilogram champion for GrappleFest.
Yep.
Him and John Hansen would be fun to see, because I think John Hansen's the over 120 champion. So that would be a really, really fun match to see between those two guys.
Yeah, and Luke, wouldn't be giving up that much weight.
No, I think he's probably similar size to John.
Yeah.
So that would be a very fun match. Any kind of pieces on that match as well?
No, it was kind of what I sort of expected would happen, but at the same time,
if Luke can get his game going, that's kind of where it goes.
And then other matches, we had Rosa Walsh. She was supposed to have a title shot, but she had a last-minute replacement. So
she finished a super quick armbar.
This other girl stepped in, and she probably knew that it was going to be a rough go.
Rosa's tough, and she has we've covered her last, I think, 3 matches on GrappleFest, and they've been really, really impressive performances. This was no different. She kind of wrestles. Do you have the name? I don't have the name written down either.
So I have the name of the last chick that she was supposed to go against.
Okay. I don't have the replacement name either.
Yeah.
Wrestles down and then immediately goes for an armbar off the back.
Yeah. And
gets it, and that's the match. She ends up belly down with it.
Yeah, it's a nasty.
It's very, very quick. But again, we've seen Walsh hit. She has a very, very good armbar game. And again, continues to make it work on GrappleFest. I want to see her fight for the title. I want to have the replacement and have her in a title match for GrappleFest, because she shows up and looks really good on GrappleFest.
She does.
Also on the card we had your note is Big Dan by leg lock.
Big Dan.
Yeah.
Well, because it was Big Dan by leg lock.
If Big Dan Manasuri, New Wave guy, if he can get his game going.
He went against Mark McQueen.
Yeah. If he gets his game going, it is underneath you. It is heel hook, outside or inside.
Yeah.
He's getting better at it. You can kind of shut Big Dan down in areas, and props to Big Dan and Mark. They spend more time on the feet here, and you see some of the pushing match. You see some work from either guy trying to jockey for position. I appreciate that we're seeing Big Dan continue to open up his stand-up and fight big guys standing before he drops back, goes to the false sweep, goes to the heel hook like he does.
And he does, and the thing I do have to say about him is he does have control when he does his heel hooks. He doesn't rip things. He actually has a lot of control when he does it.
After the leg break, I appreciate that he has the control. He had great control in that match too.
I meant to look to see whatever happened to that guy that got his leg broken, but I haven't checked.
I haven't checked either.
He's out of a Jiu Jitsu Pedigo school that's in Terre Haute, and I have to go there for work all the time, and I've always meant to stop in there, and I haven't. Anyway. So yeah. Random fact.
Big Dan looked good. I'm really impressed with his ability to get up on his shoulder and drive through to dig for the heel hook. It's something that you don't see a lot of big guys able to do with the way Big Dan does it.
Yeah.
He tends to lift your hips up when he's doing it and make a ton of purchase in a way that we see little guys do with speed. Big guys tend to drive through and away from you. Big Dan tends to drive up, and it's a thing we see Gordon do, which makes sense because Big Dan's in the room with Gordon, but he's even bigger and stronger than Gordon by probably a pretty significant margin. So it's cool to see him learn to figure out how to leverage his attributes in those ways, because it's terrifying. A big giant guy that's really good at leg locks, that's also competitively looking at expanding his game on the feet and in other places. And he's young.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot more from Big Dan. And Dan by leg lock.
There was an under 65 match, Daniel Degroot versus Shane Montague.
I can never get Shane's name. Shane always has the mustache, the bleached hair.
It's Montague, just like the Shakespeare. Like, you know.
Oh, that's okay. So I had an English teacher that did not pronounce it that way.
Wasn't it Montague?
It looks like the same word, yeah. But
I'm almost positive the way they pronounced it reminded me of Romeo and Juliet.
You're a theater
and I was
person,
like,
so you would know. I don't.
Not really.
Not really.
I wasn't a theater. I was an art school kid. I was not a theater person. There was a little bit of a difference.
A little bit, but you can see it from
We
there.
were not as
art schooly.
Yeah, we were art schooly, but we weren't like
as
theatery, if that makes any sense.
It does. This was fun. This was basically open seated guard.
Yeah. And it went back and forth. It was a split decision at the end because it literally was the two of them attacking each other.
And this was a nightmare to judge. And it was. It's like I looked at this match and I was like, I am so happy that and GrappleFest, I love their matchmaking because every card towards the top in the main event slots.
Yeah.
We'll see a match like this where it's just like more than any other promotion. I'm like, I would hate to judge that. Every card, GrappleFest has a match like that.
Yeah, because it was like leg entry, attack, leg entry, attack, but they kept on going back and forth. Mm-hmm. And it really wasn't one. I mean, it came out to be Shane, I think, having deeper.
And that's what I think. And I think it was Shane. The match was he had deeper. He had a couple leg lock attacks. He had like two more deeper. In my eyes that were deeper.
Yeah.
That Degroot had to he had to do a little more to defend.
Yeah. And
Degroot had some good entries on stuff, but nothing that I think really put Shane in super, super deep danger. And I don't think Shane had anything that was super, super dangerous for Degroot, but he just had. It's that, like, when you talk about really close leg lock matches, you have, in the modern era, it's not like, oh, he goes to leg lock, like, that's a submission attempt. No, it's a position that they're using to improve their position to be able to get to a bite on the leg to get to a sub.
Yeah, and it sort of depends on how they have to defend to get out of it.
Yeah.
Do they completely bail on the position, which means, like, they're like, oh, shit, I'm in trouble, I need to bail, or are they just foot pummeling in order,
or they countering, or it's like, hey, I'm going to let you grab this so that you pull closer so that I can counter you. It's like, well, that's not really in the modern game. Like, I wouldn't really turn that as a submission attempt. It's a position that a guy's using to counter in the same way that you'll counter a guard pass with a sweep. Like, it's just a position. This match exemplifies that in how do you determine like a deep submission attempt versus a leg position. And again, very similar to the Ash Williams versus Keith match we had a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago. That same sort of flavor of, two guys that are really comfortable in the legs. This match was definitely more double-seated open guard, a lot of inside and outside pummeling from sitting down. But call it how you want. I think it was great. I love that we're seeing more of Degroot. We don't see him hugely frequently, but I do really enjoy his game. But Shane has been looking good. I think the last 2 GrappleFests, so it's cool to see him. Did he win the title, or did he?
That was the title.
Did he have the title? Because he was on the main card last time. I don't remember if he had the title last time. I think he wins the title. I could be wrong, but it's cool. He's got a neat game. He's got a bunch of unorthodox subs as well. Degroot just did a really good job of keeping it close and staying out of a lot of the subs, even the top end subs. Like, it wasn't just legs in this match. You had a couple of omoplata attempts and some other stuff there. I like guys with the flexibility that these two guys have. It was a fun match. Anything else on GrappleFest you want to go through?
Nope. I think that was it. It was also not where it normally is. It's normally on Fight TV.
Yeah, it was a pay-per-view this time.
And it was, Glister, GLISTRR. It was like $12. I think it was $12.50 once it converted.
It was worth it.
So
it wasn't
fun. It wasn't bad. It was definitely worth it.
I'd like to see him on Fight again. It was easier with Fight Plus, but again, if they get paid, they was in the same venue.
Yeah, and it wasn't like it was expensive. $10 on like $12. I don't care. Like UFC trying to rape us for $80 or whatever is ridiculous because I'm gonna fall asleep halfway through that card anyway.
Yeah, man, you can't walk me out. You can't walk me out for $80, and then you got to pay for ESPN Plus. It's like each card is about $100. You're like, that's a lot for not Mayweather versus Conor every time for some of the pay-per-view cards we've been seeing recently. So $12 is a fine price for GrappleFest for again the matches that we saw. Long card, I think 8-hour card.
Yeah, it was long.
You want to see a lot of matches.
Yeah, but I think there were kids.
Yeah, they had some
kids.
I think they had some.
I think they had kid matches, and they had a lot of matches. Mm-hmm. It was a full day.
Yeah, but it was fun. What do you want to do next? Do you want to do fight to win, or do you want to do? All right, let's do fight
Main
to win.
event.
225 main event. Sloan Clymer versus Damon Ramos. We Damon Ramos we've talked about. It's been a little bit.
Yeah.
Go watch his ADCC East Coast Trials run if you want to get a flavor for kind of like how his game looks. Damon Ramos is really good.
Yeah, he is.
And Sloan Clymer is also very good. This match was a great combination of back and forth heavyweight jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And both guys definitely had moments in the match.
Yeah, there was one point where Sloan Clymer had like a head and arm choke from mount.
Yeah. He was starting to set it up, but he never really... It didn't look super, super deep.
No, it was more...
He didn't fall off to the side.
It was almost more of a controlling position. Like he was controlling him with the arm and the head rather than trying to put pressure into the neck.
But he was chest down all the way.
Yeah.
He had to... What I like to see, he had grapevines in.
Yeah.
So it was one of those where it's like, oh, he might even be looking to finish this... He was looking to finish, which I couldn't quite tell from the angle.
Yeah.
He was looking to finish from mount. He was either controlling or finishing. Ramos did both of these guys did a really good job throughout the match of reversals.
Yeah.
We both know that these guys are 80cc bound or looking for that direction.
Yeah.
They both compete in trials. They're both going that route. 80cc scores reversals. I am curious to see, especially at the heavier weights, if we're going to see more matches like this. And it could be a factor of fight to win. Both these guys are very experienced on the fight to win stage, where fight to win doesn't really give a shit about top player, bottom player. It's all about your sub attempts. So there's less incentive if you're getting rolled over and you have looking for a sub, you kind of go with it. But it could also be indicative of a meta shift at the higher levels or at the higher weights where we're seeing, oh yeah, I can score this reversal.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me to see
if you're gonna stay in that rule set.
Yeah. It would not surprise me in those gyms that are 80cc focused, like we know Clymer and we know Ramos is.
Clymer's not. Clymer's in Keenan's school.
Yeah, which...
Are they 80cc focused?
I mean, I think so.
Keenan's not doing 80cc.
Keenan did a bunch of 80cc's. Like,
yeah, but he's not doing it right now.
Not now. What's Keenan doing now? He's kind of doing gi a little bit.
Yeah, he's kind of doing his thing. I don't know. I wouldn't think of them as an 80cc focused school.
But they're competition focused.
They still put on the gi a lot.
They do, but we also see Clymer at ADCC in trials. We see a vet at trials.
Yeah, if we see a weird worm guard find its way into trials, then
no, there's that. But the point I'm trying to make, probably
I get what you're
poorly
saying.
at this point, is I'm curious to see if we will see more reversals at the heavier weights for scoring. Yeah, because it is scored in ADCC.
I think Damon Ramos is what, like Renner Gracie. He's like Gracie. He had Gracie on his arm. He's in a Gracie school. Not a Renner Gracie school.
Not a Renner.
Not a Renner.
Might be Hen. I don't think he's.
I don't know.
I should know this because I did when I went to Nebraska with John.
I know, and
we did a big breakdown of all the heavyweights.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a good match.
Oh, at one point in this match, Ramos hits a ninja roll.
Yeah.
And you were like, what the fuck is that? I was like,
I know the move, but I didn't know it was called a ninja roll.
You didn't have a name for it. Yeah.
No.
It kind of looks like...
It's like a berimbolo, but not really.
Esque.
Yeah.
But it's basically you are front to facing each other, and then one guy takes his legs and he hooks the other, and you basically throw your opponent over and take their back as you jump over their front.
Yeah.
It's not dangerous.
Not a dangerous move, but it's probably not in the Gracie curriculum.
It's probably not. But it was really cool to see Ramos try that. And basically, I don't remember, did he get Clymer's back with it? He almost got there.
He got mount because Clymer
flattened back out
basically. Yeah. He didn't want his back taken. He'd rather just have him mount him. So
which is reasonable, but it was again, it's not a position we see a ton from the heavier guys.
Not at all.
It was wild to see, and that's one of the things that we know Ramos for. Yeah. Like, he can wrestle, and he is a really quick heavyweight, and that's one of the things that whenever we talk to other heavyweights about him, comes up. They're like, oh yeah, he's weirdly physically quick because he's not giant for the weight class.
No, but
these things are really interesting where he can do a ninja roll on you in a comp match, end up in mount, and you're
and it's not somebody like, a meow that you expect that out of.
No, not a guy like my size.
Yeah,
he's like a child-sized adult that's going to do a flip on you. Like, that's implied, man. Yeah. You're under 150 you're probably going to do a flip a bunch of times in this match. Esteban Martinez and Mikey Musumeci, seeing how many times he can try to do the jumping over a cartwheel pass.
I didn't see him at Pans when I think about it. I didn't see Esteban.
You had to coach against Gabriel Souza.
Yeah, I did.
Also of ZR
that was interesting. I think I coached against a couple people that I didn't really know better, and I was like, whatever. I'm just gonna be.
It can't be worse.
I was like, I'm just gonna be louder than you.
It can't be worse than me coaching against Gordon at trials.
Yeah, that was pretty.
That was just like, what am I doing here? Like shaking his hand after, like, hey man, this is what do we expect? Versus Bodoni.
Yeah,
like that was like, it was a match.
It was quite a day.
So that was fight to win main event. Oh, Ramos takes that by decision.
Yes.
I think it was pretty. It was back and forth.
It was the leg
definitely.
lock. I think it was the leg lock at the end that won it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Ramos at certain point. Again, this is a rough one to pick, but the back take at the end was right near the end, the jumping ninja roll, and then that led a little later into like kind of like a belly down.
Yeah.
Was it? Well, it didn't look like a heel hook. Looked kind of like
an ankle.
Outside toe hold ankle lock.
Yeah.
Where it's like you kind of bend the ankle. It's not that straight ankle lock. It looked like he had the foot bent, kind of.
I couldn't tell. Yeah,
pointed.
I also couldn't tell what his arms were doing because it was kind of like a weird angle.
The angle was weird to look at the camera, but Ramos takes it. I think it's reasonable that Ramos takes it. Clymer didn't look super like
upset over it.
Like it was reasonable. It was fun. It was it was close, and I enjoyed watching it. So
I wonder what his hair looks like outside the braids. Clymer.
I bet it's like long. It's just like, but it's long and blonde.
I know, but I wonder if
we
it's like
we always
fluffy.
see him compete with the
the braids. Is it like fluffy? Is it like, does he look like he belongs in the front of a romance novel, like that kind of hair?
Probably. He's jacked. Dude is diesel. So
anyway.
Again, Sloan and Ramos on the main event, fight to win. Love it. I love fight to win, putting together main events like this. Two guys we are definitely going to see more of in coming years. Let's do.
And next week's Fight to Win is in San Diego.
Yeah, that'll be a good card.
I don't think they've released it yet, but San Diego always brings out like the Atos world because they're right there.
We usually brings out a bunch of big gyms. I think we had like 26 black belt matches on one of like the original San Diego.
But one of the last San Diego cards was like that. It was like all black belt matches.
We have a lot. San Diego always brings out like a really high level of talent. So can't wait to see who ends up on that. And then next week that's on Fight TV. If you got Fight TV Plus, it's like. I think it went up in price, but it's still under $70 a year or something like that.
Yeah, it's worth it. And
it is worth it.
And you can watch bare knuckle boxing.
And you can watch Fight Circus.
We'll talk about later.
So let's talk about Rise Invitational. A couple of matches we want to go through here. Main event for the women's 135-pound tournament. We had Peyton Letcher and Nicole Matthews making it to the end of that tournament. The tournament was fun, but
we had Peyton Letcher beating Trinity Pon.
Yeah, in semis. In
the semifinals.
Because Trinity had a match after for the third place. I like that Rise does that for tournaments. Like, I just like that you get a first, second, third. It's not just like winner and second place. I do like that they do seeding because it gives people that have, like, again, like Trinity Pun, that I like seeing compete, another match after. It's like, let's see a matchup on the other side so they don't just end up with two third place people. You actually kind of seed it through. I appreciate that.
IBJJF does the
two third place. Who's number one did it too, and I really enjoyed like that fight back bracket.
Yeah.
And it made the event really long and too long for that event, but it's
still fun.
I do enjoy it because like I think double elimination. I'm used to it for like game tournaments.
Yeah,
like Smash Bros. Like the double elimination is like the standard, and so I also love it because in combat sports, if you're not getting like injured, like you might have run into the champ first round. It's like it gives you an opportunity to to
get back in
and go, man, I fought the champion the first round. Like, okay, he's the champion.
Yeah, let
me like see how I do versus the rest of the field because I might be the second best person in this tournament, but we'll never know because I got knocked out the first round. So I just like that as a measuring stick for these kind of tournaments. So main event. Peyton Letcher, Nicole Matthews. They look very similar on this broadcast. I just want to say it. Very similar hair, very similar rash guard, kind of similar game here and there.
Yeah.
Towards the beginning of the match, very even.
Yeah, because Nicole was going after the feet, which we've watched her rip heel hooks I don't know how many times.
Oh, yeah.
I reffed an event that she did a couple weeks ago in Jersey, and I mean she hit some heel hooks that were definitely,
they were tight.
So she had a couple attempts there, and then it was like Peyton just, I don't know if Peyton pushed the pace or if Peyton
was on her own leg locks
Yeah.
as well, and then eventually got down and then countered.
Yeah.
And she really got to top position off of an exchange.
Yeah.
And then just
She
started
tried to smush
imposing.
her. She tried to like not smush her. What is it called? Not strangle. I don't know. That thing that Gordon Ryan does. She tried that.
Mother's milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a smother.
The smother choke.
Dude, I hate that shit.
It's not the best. It's not my favorite.
I hate it.
Yeah, but Letcher just imposed on
Some
top.
of our friends did that at Pans and won matches that way.
Hey, man, if you're a heavyweight,
I
you
know.
can get it
As
done.
heavyweights, you know.
You can get it done. It goes to overtime. So, very for match, Letcher towards definitely the end of the match.
Yeah.
Kind
Peyton
of
definitely has control.
Yeah, starts to put it on. It goes to one overtime. Again, we don't like overtime, but I appreciate that Rise goes, hey man, we're doing it. We're doing one of them.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
They actually said they have to go to a second if like they both ride timeout.
It's you have a rule. It's not
Yeah.
just I don't have to watch a bunch of them. You get one shot.
Yeah.
I don't need to. Sometimes
Well,
the tactics is interesting
yeah.
between the rounds. I understand that.
You don't need the blue belt good fight match that I had for 62 minutes. I had to ref. That was
I had
just
a
kept on going.
45. I had a 49-minute blue belt
I
match.
didn't do it. I just refed it, and they were both
Yeah.
like 205 blue belts, and they were both dead by the end.
Yep, I've been to many. I've done a couple of long ones. Reference for good fight. But again, I appreciate the Rise.
Yeah.
Just moves it to the one overtime. Again, overtime's not my favorite, but that is the rule set they choose to use, and they've modified it so that it is not the length of the regulation match. And so that always annoys me when we get, 2 6-minute overtime. It's like, hey man, the match was only 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Why are we having 12 plus minutes? It's 15 minutes of overtime for a 10-minute match. If we're gonna go that long, just give them 5 more minutes of match time and do it that way. So Rise does a great job. And Letcher has an amazing escape. As soon as Nicole she takes the back.
Yeah.
And then you see Letcher, and the camera angle was great for this one.
Yeah.
You see Letcher. They kind of like complain about hand position for a second, as you always should do in EVI overtimes. They determine the hand position that they want. They're both good with it. And then you see Letcher immediately, like, she pulls down, and then she just bucks her hips down, and she doesn't go up. She slides out and, like, low while turning in Matthews' guard, and then gets out.
Yeah.
And it was
the one thing that if you watched her and you watched how she controlled the back, because she controlled the back in a few of her matches.
Letcher or Matthews?
Letcher.
Peyton.
Is that Letcher, and this is something I want to think about because my problem with back control is always I'm so concerned with like everything going on that I don't pay attention to the small stuff. And they said that and you can watch her, she pays attention to the one elbow. Because the one elbow has to pass for her to be out. Yeah. So like,
is that the criteria for that?
It's the elbow.
Oh,
and so that's how you know the escape is that elbow passes the body. Oh. So if you watch her when she's doing it, she controls the elbow, and she doesn't really worry about anything else. She just worries about that elbow.
Worry about the thing that matters to escaping the position.
Because as long as she controls that elbow and has that elbow where it's supposed to be, they can't turn to get out. And you can control them. And what she would do is she kept on going to like Kimuras, and then she'd make it so that you couldn't you
get locked in that Kimura.
You're locked in the
stuck
Kimura.
There.
Yeah, and then she could transition off of it if she needed to. But she did a lot of like
that in an earlier match. I think
she did a lot of elbow control because she knew that elbow control was the criteria of how they say that you are out of that
I need to go back and watch a couple of her matches then to see that because I
want to say it's the left elbow, but I guess it really depends on which side you're trying to escape on. It's the far elbow on whichever side you're escaping on.
Yeah, that makes
when that elbow makes sense. Yeah, when that elbow comes out, you're escaped at that point.
I didn't realize that they had updated the rules for EVA, and this is how much I.
And I don't know if it's in the rules or if that's just the criteria that you're supposed to be paying attention to.
I don't know because I remember EBI 10 years ago. Yeah. It was kind of a wonky. I mean, not quite 10 years.
I think it's always been a wonky.
But it's always been kind of wonky. And like if Rise or EBI in general, those rule sets have kind of codified that would be nice to know because it gives you a more. We all kind of know when someone's out of back control, but sometimes someone will spin their hips and twist, and you kind of go
yeah.
And then 15 seconds or 10
seconds. And as a ref, it's hard to freaking. really, like, I normally give them a couple seconds because I'm like, I'm not going to.
For those edge cases, it's always weird. But sometimes in close matches, those couple seconds matter.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
Like, as a ref or as a viewer, I want to make sure the correct thing happens. The elbow is really, really easy to see. If that works, I kind of would like that criteria adopted more. It's cool that Letcher has gone like, that's the criteria. Boom, and has a nice control series here. She wins the title. She's the 135-pound champion for Rise. Rise does usually a pretty good job of bringing their champions back. Peyton is local to New York, so I think Rise is in
New York
or New Jersey now.
New York.
Are they in New York now?
I think they were in New York.
They used to be in New York, but I don't know with all the testing and standards.
They might have made them do all the testing and standards. I thought they were at
the ballroom.
The ballroom,
New York.
And I thought they had said that.
So they may be in New York, but
yeah.
I like that Rise brings their champions back. I am very curious to see who they match up Peyton with.
Yeah, it was at Madison Theater.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe they went to the testing. Again, Rise is a New York promotion, so they're used to it for MMA.
I'm pretty sure.
Or boxing.
Yeah, they probably make everybody test too.
Hey, if you got to do it, you got to do it. I'm curious to see who they bring Letcher, back against.
Yeah.
Because they have their champions defend the titles, which is something we always like to see from organizations.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Any of the matches on the card you want to cover?
We had Rene Sousa go against Randy Brown.
Randy the Rude Boy Brown, who lost me a parlay recently because he got submitted and not knocked out in the UFC on that Volkanovski Islam card. Rene Sousa looked really good here.
He did.
Randy Brown is a big dude and very, very strong, very long, kind of similar body style to Rene. These guys went at it. They had a fun back and forth. Rene was very much in the driver's seat. But again, when you have a guy like Rene with a really great sub game and a straight up jiu-jitsu guy versus an MMA fighter coming into jiu-jitsu, we have seen this match play out many, many a time. Usually does not go the fighter's way. But again, I am always appreciative of fighters coming out and trying it out.
This match scared me a few times in the way that he was trying to get out of things. He was aggressively getting out of things in ways that your body should not be moving. And I was
MMA guys.
I was like, he's gonna break his arm doing that. That's not good. There was a couple winces, or I was like, oh, that's not good.
MMA dudes are built different, and I appreciate it when you see it in grappling. This is what it takes to be in the UFC for a long time and be ranked in the UFC. Crazy. Rene eventually hits a really, really nice. It was a triangle armbar combo.
Yeah.
I think either armbar or triangle armbar combo, locks him down, and then after they have Randy set up a buggy choke on him, and I just appreciated that they were very jovial at the end of the match and let him set it up.
What was also funny was the commentator that was doing it,
Jay. Big J Robuto.
Yeah, I was like, I know the name. I just can't think of it.
He was
during this match. He was saying what he was like. Well, we know that blah blah blah, and he was basically saying what this guy shouldn't do, so that Rene, because what Rene was gonna do, and Rene looked up at him and shook his finger at him because they could hear what Jay was saying because it was so quiet. And he was telling him how to get out of it.
You're blowing my spot up here. So we do a lot of commentary. Not a lot of commentary. We do commentary once every month, every other month, and it is really weird because grappling tends to be very quiet.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of grappling, you're usually not screaming, yelling the whole time.
Most of the tournaments that we're at, they're loud enough that you can't really be heard by.
But occasionally we do super fight. And so for tournaments, it's fine.
Yeah.
For super fight commentary, or if we do tournament commentary late in the day, sometimes it's the tournament clears out. You're just at the finals of what you're commentating, what you're there to commentate, and it's man, it's a bunch of people very quietly watching this one match because it is the last match, or for super fights, and it gets weird. And as doing commentary and over the years, getting more comfortable talking about what's happening 2 feet in front of me in a very quiet room where you're the only person talking. The headphones do help a little bit because it kind of insulates you and you get used to it, but it is the weirdest thing to have a competitor look at you when you're explaining something and they're like, come on, man, not right now. I'm I gotta explain it because that's what's happening. It is still so awkward when it's so quiet.
I at Pans had a really funny, you had a teammate that was winning his finals match in Pans, and the other coach was standing directly beside me, and he kept on yelling things at his guy, and I would yell the reverse just to see if like dude was listening.
Throw
and
the
then
triangle.
Yeah.
Watch out for the
I
triangle.
was like, watch out for the triangle. And then the guy looked over and he's like, you're the coach? And I was like, yeah, yep, uh-huh. And I was like, and I just kept on coaching.
Yeah, I'm the coach now. I'm the captain. Look at me.
It was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it is very funny in tournament settings over the years.
Because it was quiet. Because it was like end of the day, so like you could hear everything.
It is really
and
funny.
I just kept on like. I mean, I would coach what I was saying, but then whatever he would say, I'd be like, "Watch out for that leg," and then he'd be like, "Do this," and I'd be like, "Do the opposite."
It is really fun. Again, especially as you do the sport longer and longer. Not commentating. Coaching locally is like, oh yeah, you've trained with everyone in the room. Like you've trained with other coaches. Like everyone know it's a very small.
Yeah, we all know each other.
Community, and so it's very fun that either like former training partners or like you're coaching against someone that you trained with years ago, or trained with, or drops in occasionally. You drop into them, and it's like, and after the match, you're like, oh, good match, and it's you had your two guys fight. And then you had to coach against the guy. And then you're back. Yeah, we're back. It's still community. It's just very. It's a very interesting little. Piece of the sport.
Generally, you don't get people butt hurt, but it does happen.
It's like because your guy either did it or didn't do it on the mat.
I will say, if you have a female that's coaching someone and you compete against them, please shake the hand or bump the fist of the female coaching.
Yeah.
I never have them come to me.
That happens a lot.
I was coaching at every single tournament. I've coached at Pans, I've coached at Worlds, I've coached at ADCC, I've coached everywhere. They never acknowledge that I'm the actual coach, and I'm the one screaming.
I always have, and that's one thing.
And it pisses me off.
I always have my guys, like, I make a point, because I have a lot of people that are, like, new or competing, make a point to go, like, shake the hand. Because it was something that I, as a competitor in my younger years.
It's just something you're supposed to
learn to do. I competed a lot of times with no coaches, just like I'm just out there competing. Like, I don't know, I don't have a coach. You don't have I have like my girlfriend or wife now, like filming, and I'm like, she's not really coaching me that much because she's more experienced than me. But again, and learning how the sport has developed and changed. Like, hey, it's respectful to shake the ref's hand, shake your competitor's hand, shake the other coach's hand, because we're all in this, and like we can have this tough match and then give the respect. And so it's one thing I always like, and I wish that more people would shake women's hand in that.
Yeah, they don't shake your hands ever. It's freaking annoying.
But
anyway,
be the change you want to see. So make people shake the coach's hand.
Sometimes I forcibly make them shake my hand.
Hey, shake my hand.
I'll be like, stick it out there, but
Good time. So that does it for any other matches you want to talk about on this card?
No, Deagle was supposed to be on the card. He was not.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if.
The Andrew DeGraff versus John Jimenez match. That was a fun match. Was that a title match?
That was not.
Match? No, the other one was interim title.
No, that was interim title. It was just a super fight that they put in, I think, for time.
Yeah, that was a fun match.
It was a fun match.
So that was Rise. It is on Flow now. It used to be on Fight Pass. I always think it's on Fight Pass.
Yeah,
it's on Flow now. A lot of fun. Big weekend of events. Quiet week next week. Not sure exactly what we're going to cover next week.
I'll Fight to Win. We'll probably have
Fight to Win San Diego will be next week.
We'll have a decent card for San Diego. That will be super
fun. Definitely going to cover that. We watched, and moving into the outro section of the show.
We watched fights. We watched Fight Circus.
We watched Fight Circus this week. And if you don't know what Fight Circus is, I will just give you this. It is worth the pay-per-view price if you don't have Fight TV.
If you have Fight TV, it's free.
If you don't have Fight TV,
it's like $10.
It is worth the year to have and watch Fight Circus alone, even if you watch the show in the end.
I will say Fight Circus is the reason why I bought Fight TV.
Yeah, because I showed Miranda this on. You're like, what? I was like, buy it.
What is that?
So the main event for Fight Circus, just as an FYI, main event for Fight Circus was a Siamese boxing match with Bob Sapp and Rampage Jackson in one oversized t-shirt with one boxing glove on either side each versus the event promoter, John Nutt and Woody, named Sloppy Balboa. That was the main event, and they actually fought, and John Nutt got TKO'd and his ribs broken by Rampage Jackson.
It was like a liver shot that he dropped the first time, and then the second time
he broke his ribs.
Yeah, so he was...
I was talking to Rachel about this because we were watching, we were loving it. Rachel's like, you're taking me to Thailand, we were watching this live.
It's freaking crazy.
She said, think about it. He has his left hand versus Rampage's right hand.
Yeah. Oh,
That's the worst spot you could possibly be
The worst
in.
thing about it was Rampage was hitting both of them.
Yeah.
He was like cross, like hit one, hit the other. And he wasn't doing like hit him in the face. He was like body shot. And he was just like body shot. And I was like, dude, that's a freaking horrible body shot.
It was amazing. And it was this card also featured old school MMA that ended with grounded knees.
Yeah, that was.
It also featured a human pinata, Steve the Panda Banks versus Pets and the Gang.
And basically...
which is a 2-on-1 fight where you had to take a backpack full of money from the guy.
Yeah, and you had to hold a backpack full of money, and then 2 people had to try to steal it without getting knocked out.
It featured the Wheel of Violence, which every round they spin a wheel. Sometimes it's sometimes it's kicks only. Sometimes it's slaps. Sometimes it's MMA.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a tire in the center.
Yeah,
and
they have to they have to put a foot in the tire.
Yeah,
and
it's a boxing drill.
Yeah,
that was the card. There were more crazy matches on the card. It was amazing.
The best one
and worth your time.
That was only like 5 seconds long. And was, if we call illegal, like...
was the 2-on-1
fight? If we say dangerous, like if we were talking about Henner's dangerous maneuver statement, we had... What was his name?
His name was Walter John Veal.
And he was maybe a 250, 260 pound?
260, probably. He was every bit... I mean, because John, that promoter's a heavyweight. Yeah. And Walter was next to him and bigger than John.
Yeah, he was a huge man.
Mm-hmm.
And he was against 2 Thai fighters.
Yep.
That had no idea what was about to happen to them.
They were smaller than me, and I'm a small man.
And he was told, like, no elbows, like nothing.
He couldn't elbow them, and he couldn't guillotine them.
Yeah.
And they started the fight, and John Walter lifted one man up and then chucked him on the ground.
Them.
And then the other guy kind of did the same thing, and they both were down, and they went, yeah, man.
Yeah, and they didn't get back
done.
up. And that was the end of the match.
And and then in Walter's, he called himself Walter.
Yeah.
In the interview at the end, he's been on Fight Circus before, by the way. You should watch his earlier fights. He basically was like, yeah, John was like, that was kind of a shitty fight. It was a little faster than we thought it was going to be. And he turns to the promoter and goes, at least they didn't punch him.
Yeah.
And I went, that's a very good point, Walter.
And then
I appreciate you not punching them.
At one point, they played not Ring Around the Rosie.
Musical chairs?
Musical chairs.
Well, that's who determined had to fight John.
Yeah. That determined the blind luchador.
Blindfolded luchador fight. Muay Thai fight, I think.
Yeah, it was Muay Thai
fight.
But it was in a luchador mask.
But it was a blindfolded luchador mask.
Yeah, they couldn't see out of it.
This was my weekend. Aside from the actual professional grappling matches we watched, it was astonishing. Rachel wants me to take her to Thailand now to go and see this.
Oh, I would love it. It looks...
The
great.
Tickets aren't that expensive. They're like $35.
Oh, I'm sure they're not.
And like the flights are like $1,400. But I could go to Fight Circus, Full Metal Dojo, and I could be there live at this place. Yeah. That may be a reality in my life. Because I don't need an excuse to go to Thailand anyway, because it's super neat and they're great. I love Thai fights.
And
One FC has a bunch of fights over there now.
They do a bunch of, what's it called? They do a bunch of grappling camps there too.
Yeah, frequently. So if I need an excuse to go out there.
You don't need an excuse to go to Thailand.
Look, Fight Circus will be that excuse.
Yeah.
So that was Miranda and I's weekend of
watching, that was great.
Of watching
that
Fight
was
Circus.
I looked forward to that event.
Yeah.
It was something.
It was everything I hoped it would be, and it is why we have commissions in the US.
Yeah.
It is
and
much.
They did have refs of some sort.
At the end of the night, the ref
was drunk.
And the clown in the ring finished the bottle of Hypnotic and then called to the bar.
I think it was
hey,
just vodka.
We need more vodka.
Yeah. They were drinking.
At one point, the ref fought Bob Sapp and Apollo, or Bob Sapp and Rampage Jackson for a minute. Like,
I saw that. That was hilarious.
It is, if you haven't seen it and you are into a shit show like this, and if you watch and participate in grappling, you kind of probably are, because I know our demographic and audience, it is worth it to go back and watch.
It's also kind of
Fight
funny
Circus.
how angry people get that don't know what they're watching that watch it. Because, like, the comments on Instagram about how much it was a mockery of, like, combat sports were making me laugh.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
The point is the mockery of combat sports. It's entertainment. And
well, the fact that the one match wasn't going too hard, so they wound up seeing how much money they could get together.
He put 10,000 baht together, which is about 5,000 baht is $146.
It's like
I looked
300
it up.
and something.
It's about 300
Yeah,
bucks.
me and Abby did the same thing. We figured out.
those guys were swinging. And
they
it
were
got
swinging
wild.
for the fences after that.
So it felt a little weird at certain places, definitely, for some moments. Like they gave a motorcycle away and a person. It got a little weird, but wildly entertaining.
The commentary is ridiculous.
The commentary was drunk, obviously.
Yeah.
Everyone was drunk, obviously. Very, very interesting event. We're not really going to cover Fight Circus, even though we kind of just did in a roundabout way. Extremely, extremely entertaining. Other kind of things we cover. There's a 1FC put out a video today of the Rotolo brothers, and it's both of them breaking down Cade's title fight.
Okay.
And it's probably like 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes.
Daisy Fresh put up a new episode a couple days ago.
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it
good?
either.
Okay.
I just realized right before I went to train today. So
the Rotolos is really interesting because it's Ty and Cade kind of talking about Cade's match.
Yeah.
And Ty said something in the commentary for it that I had never heard before. He goes, "Oh yeah," and we've heard brothers talk about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, coaching your brother is kind of like an extension of you. There's things that I can see him doing that no one else, but I don't see in any other people or matches. I just know what he's doing, like I'm doing it." And he described it in a really interesting.
Twins?
They're twins.
Yeah, so
he said coaching your twin brother.
So they have that twin.
Yeah,
that twin thing.
It was really Ty illustrated and orchestrated that very, very eloquently in a really interesting way. And I was like, oh, that's wild to hear him explain, because they've lived their whole life like this, to hear him explain it succinctly, like, oh yeah, I can just see what he's doing and know what, and I'm doing it, so I know where he's going to be. I know what he's feeling, and I know what I need to tell him because I know what situation I can see myself in there. Yeah, it was really, really interesting. And then he's like, I don't have to tell him anything here because he knows. Yeah. So that's on YouTube, and it's I think it's 2 minutes and 36 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Very quick.
Oh, so it's not
because his match was pretty quick, but it was neat, and it was them breaking down the match on 1FC. And I'm so amped to see Ty compete on 1FC in Denver in a couple weeks for me.
Yep, it'll be fun.
Anything else going on this week?
Not that I'm aware of. Oh no, I'm going to Louisiana tomorrow. I'm going to New Orleans tomorrow for a work conference. Yeah,
nice.
Right on Canal Street. They're putting us on Canal and Bourbon.
Whew, is it Mardi Gras?
No, that already happened, but they're still putting us right in the middle of madness. So it'll be
per Hannibal Buress. You can, I think, pay $200 for a parade for yourself.
Ooh,
There's a parade department.
Ooh,
you should look this up. It might be.
I might have to have a parade for myself.
So
Monday night I'm training, but at least I'm going to try to train Monday night.
So please come back, and then please come back with good New Orleans stories.
Yes, I will try. I will try my best.
Anything else? I got nothing going on this week.
That's
just
it.
Normal stuff. Getting back to training, getting back to coaching. I have a bunch of tournaments coming up that a bunch of my folks have been like, I'm going to compete at this. I'm like, all right, I gotta go coach you. So it'll be exciting. Some people that haven't competed before are getting an opportunity to go out and decided to do that. So
that's good.
I'm amped to get those guys ready, or actually men and women ready to go and do that. So that will be the stress of my week, is I gotta make sure I coach you good so that you can go and enjoy this experience. It's going to be a very new experience for you. So, all right, as always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, the co-host,
Miranda.
And we have the Grappling Miranda. Say the mat, what it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.